Hey y'all, so it's your girl Tamiria and I'm here with a quick story time. So yeah, I'll be doing a story time on how I caught a spinal leak and a spinal headache after I gave birth to my second son Bryson in 2022. So guys, I was induced on the morning of October 8th. I got a call at like I want to say 5 something that morning. The first time I was sleeping. So they left a voicemail. When I woke up I called back, but then I couldn't reach the nurse who called me. So basically they called me back. Long story short, I got induced because I had gestational diabetes and gestational hypertension. So at that point, I was 38 weeks and 2 days. So they wanted to go ahead and induce me and get the baby out because they thought it was safe to go ahead and do it at 38 weeks and 2 days. So October 8th, I finally reached them. Mind you, I had my oldest, and then my second one, Bryson, was just like on the way. So the nurse finally called me back. She's like, hey, can you be here at 7? I'm like, whoa, 7? I'm like, okay, I got to get my baby to my mom's house in Newberry. She's like, how far? I'm like, maybe like 45 minutes until I can get him there, and then I'll be on my way to the hospital. So guys, that's exactly what we did. I didn't even have my bag packed or my son bag. So my fiance hurry up and got some clothes on, got the stuff ready, put it in the truck, and then we just headed to Newberry. And I called my mom. I'm like, hey, they called me. They want me to be to the hospital, which we already knew they was going to be calling me sometime over the weekend. But the plan was for me to get induced that Monday. So this was like that Saturday. So yeah, boom, drop them off to my mom. They wish me safe delivery. They said they're going to call me and stuff like that. And then I get on to the hospital. So I want to say I get to the hospital around 6:45, 7 o'clock. So they show me the ropes to my room, bring paperwork. They tell me to go take a bath. So I went and showered because y'all know when you get induced, they make you take a shower just in case. You have to go for an emergency C-section or just anything like that. They have you just take a scrub down into some stuff. So that's exactly what I did. I did that, put on my gown, got comfortable, my socks and everything like that. Went back, and then my nurse came in, and then all the doctors came in, went over everything, went over just in case I had to get an emergency C-section and stuff like that. Sorry guys, but anyways, they came in, went over all the paperwork. I had to sign paperwork just in case I had to get a blood transfusion, such and such. I do have a history of bleeding out, so I had to get that hemorrhage in basically. So I had to sign paperwork for that. And guys, they started the process. So she checked me. First thing they did after all the paperwork was they checked me just to see how far dilated I was. Long story short, I was already 4 centimeters dilated. At my last appointment Friday, I was 3 centimeters dilated. So I had dilated overnight, which I knew something was wrong. Like something was I figured it was kind of speeding up because I was like having contractions more constantly overnight. But I wasn't too concerned because it's just like I know when to go to the hospital. And it wasn't my first baby, so I stayed like I want to say 6 minutes away from the hospital. So yeah, long story short, so they checked me. So she's like, we're gonna just let you labor on because I was having contractions pretty constantly. So then they start the Pitocin. I want to say around 11, 12. Start the Pitocin. I start to get uncomfortable pain wise. So around about 5 something, they give me the epidural. So I'm sitting up, the anesthesiologist come in. He's a resident, by the way. I didn't know that at first, but he's a resident. He come in, and they had me tip over, and he give me the epidural. And basically, out of nowhere, I just went flying, like circling around, like out of it, y'all. Like I was out of it. And they had to hold me and lay me down. Something happened. Nobody explained to me what happened. Something happened. So they called the attendant in there. And then he laid me down, and then the supervisor came in. It was like, we're going to try to do it while you're laying down. And then the supervisor and attendant was like, no, we can't do that while she's laying down. So then they wait until, I don't know what happened, guys, but I just got a headache, and I just like felt really like dizzy. So they was like, they're going to wait till I feel better and then try to do it again. Since the resident didn't know what he was talking about, he was like, he's going to do it while I'm laying down. So second attempt, do it again. But they wasn't successful, like placing the epidural. So third attempt, do it again, and that was successful. But I want to say, it did not wear off. It did not wear off. But where it wore off at was when I was getting stitched up, because I remember me feeling everything, and I started bleeding out. So they had to give me medication, and guys, it was painful. They had to give me morphine in my IV because I felt everything. I was in pain. So cleaned me up. By the time they got me up to use the restroom, guys, something was just off. Like I just had this horrible headache, and I just felt like really dizzy. But the headache wasn't really bad. But the dizziness, I'm like, something is wrong. So I remember me telling my fiance, like, babe, I don't feel good. So I tell him to pick our son up and put him under the light thing, where they put the baby, they check their weight and stuff like that. I was like, babe, put him on here, because I don't want to be carrying him. I remember like, hey, like tell him, like, go get the nurse because I feel bad. But I think the nurse had stepped out for something, not too sure. But all I know is when that lady got back in the room, I told her, I'm like, hey, I don't feel good. I feel dizzy. I got a horrible headache, and something is just not right. Mind you, we know our bodies, you know what I'm saying? So I knew something wasn't right. But I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know. But I just knew something wasn't right. So, boom, she's talking about just lay down, just sit down, and stuff like that. So she basically just ignored, pushed off how I was feeling. Which, I'm young, you know what I'm saying? I should have just basically called the charge nurse or the doctor, but I didn't do that. And the crazy part about it is, this lady was my color. And it's like, damn, like, it's like black African-American women's always getting, like, pushed, like, they concerns always getting dismissed, but I was very surprised that she did that to me. So I got to mother and baby, long story short. And as the time went on, you know what I'm saying, I'm just feeling really bad, y'all. Like, when I lay down, I'm fine. But when I sit up, when I try to change my baby diaper, when I go to the bathroom, I'm getting really dizzy and my head is hurting, y'all. It felt a horrible headache when I sit up and when I stand up, when I walk. Just a horrible headache. So I let my nurse know. And mind you, my nurses on the postpartum floor was not my color. And the only reason why I'm bringing up color is it's so crazy that an African-American nurse can just dismiss my concerns or push off my concerns. And then a woman that's not even my color, called on right then and there and called the anesthesiologist and took it seriously, being that I had just gave birth not even 5 hours, prior. So long story short, this lady examined me because they already figured, like, think they know what's going on. So she had me lay down and then sit up and stuff like that. And she's like, you know what? We need to call the anesthesiologist. So she's like, let me go make a couple phone calls, but I don't want you to pick baby up. I want you to lay straight down. So she tell my fiance, like, hey, if the baby cried, you tend to the baby. Mama needs to lay down. We got to call the doctors and stuff like that. Long story short, the anesthesiologist come in the room, the doctor come in the room, and they're like, you basically have a spinal headache. So they was like, what happened was, when the resident placed my epidural the first time, he punched and studied him, because I ain't even tell you guys, he was calling for help, but then he canceled the call. Instead of him, calling for help, he basically just act like he knew what he was doing and just continued to do what he wanted to do. So in the midst of all of that, he punctured a hole in my back, he punctured a hole, and the fluid went from that hole and it burst up to my brain, which is very serious if you look it up. So I basically had fluid that all that fluid that burst from that hole, it went up and started bathing in the inside of my brain, and which was very dangerous. So long story short, the doctors coming in the room like, we probably want you to stay in the hospital a little longer, so we can keep an eye on you and try to figure out what we can do to get this fluid off of your brain. They was talking about my options were to do a procedure, or like them wash me and give me some medication, like some caffeine pills, some caffeine soda, because caffeine helps the fluid and stuff like that go off your brain, and it just helps you recover quickly from the stuff that was going on. So I was like, no, I just want to go home and recover. You just want to be, when you just gave birth, it's okay. You want to stay in the hospital, till it's okay for you to go home. But after that, it's like, you may want to go home and get in your own bed. The hospital is not the comfortable place to stay. So I was like, I just want to go home. My fiance was like, babe, you probably should stay. But I'm like, no, I want to go home. So guys, long story short, I went home. They was like, okay, because they can't make me stay in the hospital. Yeah, so they can't make me stay in the hospital. So I went home. So long story short, we go get the car seat, do the test, everything like that. With the next day, I went home. So we got home, and I'm just kind of, I'm feeling bad, but I ain't saying nothing to my fiance. Now this where the part took a turn for the worse. So when I get up to use the bathroom, I put the baby in the bassinet because I'm, breastfeeding the baby, changing his diaper and stuff like that. I put him in his bassinet. I go use the bathroom, clean up, stuff like that. I come back. I picked the baby up, and then I almost passed out. So my fiance like, no. I had enough. I'm calling 911. And he called 911, and y'all, when I tell y'all I did not want to go to the hospital, I was telling the paramedics, like, no, my baby got a doctor's appointment in the morning. I am not going to the hospital. And they was like, how you going to care for your baby if you ain't even all the way, you know better. You need to get to the hospital. So long story short, they called the hospital. They called labor and delivery, let them know what's going on. And labor and delivery was telling them to bring me to the hospital, bring me to the labor and delivery side, because I'm going to need to see the anesthesiologist and stuff over there. And the doctor. So when I got to the hospital, they took me to the main ER. But the OBGYNs was coming down there to let me know they're going to admit me and stuff like that. They're going to readmit me to the hospital so that I can get the proper care and see what's going on, see what they're going to do. Mind you, them people told me not to go home, but I didn't want to listen. So long story short, they took me over there. They was basically telling me, like, you're ill, you're not better, you know, we can get fluid off your head, you're not feeling, you're not looking good and stuff like that. So they gave me the other two options. So I was like, I'm not getting that thing, because this a thing. Basically, they would have had to go on my arm, both of my arms, draw a couple liters of blood out of my arms, and stick it in my back and try to close up the hole. And it's a 50-50 possibility that I could have got better or I could have stayed the same. So I'm like, no, I'm not about to do that, because y'all had a hard time placing the epidural in the first place, because I have like a scoliosis, which my spine not straight. So it was very stressful, y'all. It was so traumatic. Like, long story short, I ended up just getting the caffeine pills. They kept me in the hospital like an extra 2 days. And then I got better. I started feeling better to go home. I went home, y'all. So it's crazy because I went home. So 2 days, not even 2 days later, a day later, the next day, I started having pain on my right side, like under my breast. Y'all, it hurt it when I breathe. It hurt it when I move and everything. So my mom, my fiance is telling me, like, you need to go back to the hospital. I'm like, no. Mind you, my oldest son was at my mama's house, and I was planning on going to go see him the next day. I'm like, no. I'm like, if I feel bad, I think I'll just go get checked out. So long story short, they come. We heading down there to go see, you know, my oldest son. I'm sitting in the back with the baby. And I told my fiance, like, I can't take it no more, bro. This pain is bad. It's like it's in my chest, my stomach. I don't know what's going on. I need to go get checked out. So long story short, he stopped me to go get checked out. Him and the baby is outside, y'all. Wait, was they outside? Was y'all in the waiting room, babe? Okay, they was outside with the AC on. And then basically the doctor was like, because mind you, the doctors them knew, the hospital knew I had just given birth, and they was like, do the baby need to come in here? And I was like, you know, my fiance just trying to figure out what's going on first before he do anything. So he was like, since you 5 days postpartum, we need to run all kind of tests, see what's going on. You know, it could be so much going on. He was like, he thought he knew what was going on, but, you know, he didn't want to say it until they do tests. Because about the pain, where I was, you know, describing the pain and stuff like that, he thought he knew what was going on. The man was right. So he didn't tell me, but I was really scared. I mean, I'm thinking, like, what the fuck could be going on? Like, I just had a baby. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you know, he was like, did you have any diarrhea? I'm like, well, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, when I was in labor, I did remember the nurse telling me, like, you know, on myself. And that's it. Like, no. So basically, long story short, y'all, they did tests. Then they came back in the room. Oh, my God. They ended up telling me, like, you know, your gallbladder is inflamed and stuff like that, and we need to get you over to the hospital, main hospital, so you can get it removed. I'm like, what? I'm like, I just had a baby, just got out the hospital, had fluid on my brain, and now you telling me I got to go have emergency surgery? And they was like, who did your hernia mass repair? Because it might be the surgeon that's on call. And I'm like, Pickens did it. So long story short, you know, they call him, he's on call, so they put me over to, and I tell you, they treated me good, though, I ain't finna lie. You know, it wasn't even the hospital I had my baby at. That's the thing about it. They knew I just had a baby. The surgeon, like, I feel so bad for you going through a lot. Like, a lot. Within 5 days, y'all, I had fluid around my brain. And then I had to have emergency surgery because I had gallstones. My gallbladder had, you know, was inflamed and everything infected. It was so much going on, guys. So I safely got that removed. But my recovery was hell. Family stepped in. They helped me. My mom. Big shout out to my fiance and just my supporters, my surgeon and stuff like that. Everybody, because baby, y'all, it was just too much. Like, I recovered well, though. I'm doing well. Almost 2 years later, I'm doing well. So, yeah. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I basically did this story time to just bring awareness, to speak up for yourself, for number one, and to be careful when you're getting epidural, because everybody seems to think that, oh, it's normal for you to get a headache after labor. Well, that's not the reason I had a headache. I had something totally different going on, all because of a resident. So that just goes to show, like, if you don't have to see a resident, and just make sure you look at all the paperwork before you sign it when you go into labor or when you go to get to the hospital and about to give birth. And make sure you speak up for yourself. Always advocate for yourself, guys. I learned my lesson to just advocate for myself, because it could be your own color just missing you. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story time, though. I love you guys. Until next time.